Airshow fans, as you're tuning in, pause for a couple.
Well, while we're waiting, I guess we could tell a little bit about the air show. We could start right off. We could tell everybody we're having an air show again, May 1 and 2, and obviously we're having the Thunderbirds here, and we got a couple other that people might be interested in.
Yeah, we've got a couple that you folks may be interested in out there in Airshow fanland. So we're going to have a couple of bombers. One of my favorite is the B-52. It's going to do a nice flyover for us, and then we're going to have the B-2 Spirit, which is stationed just down the road from us at Whiteman Air Force Base. Our sister wing here in the Missouri Air National Guard, the 131st Bomb Wing, is going to be flying over our show for you there. It's civilian actors, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the Shetterly Squadron, which some of you have seen in the they fly RVs, and I like to call them the fluffy floppies, that they fly up and do aileron rolls and move around our flat in the air show. Also, we've got something new this year. It's a Yak 110, and some of you maybe might know what Yak is. They actually cut it in half, add another Yak side of it, and there's an engine on it. So it's going to be pretty exciting. I've never seen it before, but good engine. So we also have Jim PIETZCH. He's a comedian that he's on, and I won't tell you, but it's quite entertaining. I'm sure you'll get a kick.
So thanks everybody for joining us today. A little intro for joining. I'm Captain Compton, director of the South Speed Air Show.
I may not have a main title like it. I'm here to help for the air show.
He's actually the general manager for Rosecrans Memorial Airport. So our air show is a partnership with the 139th Airlift Wing, City of St. Missouri, and Buchanan County, Missouri. So thanks everybody for tuning in. So we've already talked about a couple of the acts. We'll talk a couple more, and then we can go to the questions and answers. And so we've got a list of several questions that we'll work through today. And if you do happen to have one after we're working through, we'll try to get to that, and we'll do our absolute best. Just like all 1,200 of our citizen airmen are doing their absolute best to put on a fantastic show for everyone that's going to be joining us this coming weekend. And just like our wonderful Buchanan County is doing in part and lockstep with us. So we're the 139th Airlift Wing. We're the home of the C-130H, and of course we would be remiss if we didn't have C-130s in our air show. So we're going to do a demonstration for you, and also our C-130 are going to be dropping our parajumpers. They're going to open our show, and then we're going to put on a really good demo for you. So one of the great ones is AFTERSHOCK, which is actually a classic fire truck that Darn out has done a fantastic job of modifying. Yeah, a couple of jet engines and shoots out a huge flame and rockets on our runway. And then we've got some warbirds too.
Yeah, yeah, that engine truck. interesting. Owen, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the restrictions that we've got here? Do you want to talk masking? I know a lot of these people want to know.
So on that, welcome back to air shows. This is the first in-person military air show since March 2020. It's been a long time since we've had air shows, and we're certainly doing our absolute best to bring this one to you and bring it in person. So on January 20th, 2021, the President signed an executive order for mask wear on all folks. As a Air National Guard airlift wing, we are property, and so we're going to have to ask folks that are joining us to please bring and wear your mask for the weekend. I understand it may be a little uncomfortable. We'll be up there on the flight line with you, wearing them. All 1,200 of our airmen will. So we're going to do our best to put on the show, and we're going to try to do it right for bringing those back. Another thing that we're doing this year that different is we have a ticket requirement. Now, doesn't mean that you have to get, does it, Abe?
Nope. You absolutely have to pay to the show. You can go online to SQUADRON.com and get a free ticket. The general admission tickets will run out, though. You need to get your general admission ticket as soon as possible.
Ladies and gentlemen and girls, with the Naval Air Station Kingle and the Wings Over South Texas Air Show, presented today by Thomas J. Henry Attorneys. My name is Matt Jolly from BirdRadio.com. It's my honor and privilege to be your host again this year. Now, during my last visit here in 2016, Wings Over South Texas Air Show honored Vietnam veteran. Today, we honor another group of veterans who have served with distinction. Today, our women veterans. On June 12, 1948, President Harris Truman signed into law the Women's Armed Services Integration Act, allowing women to serve as regular members of the military. And since that day, America's daughters have sought ever-increasing roles in service to their nation. Today, women veterans count for approximately 1% of the total U.S. veteran population, and that number is expected to grow to 15% by the year 2030. Our women veterans serve side by side with their male counterparts and are integrated into nearly every military occupation category, as evidenced here in the NA Kingsville area, where women's pilots are being trained to plate their place in the fleet as carrier jet strike pilots. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join NAS Kingsville and the Wings Over Texas Air Show. Welcome our women there from the left, being led into the flight line by the Guard Riders of the Coastal Bend, followed closely by the NAS Kingsville Commanding Officer, Air Spitzer. In the second court, representing our local Army women veterans, is Miss Anne Marie Torres, Jennifer Ross, and Diaz. Next, represent the U.S. Marine Corps women veterans are Maria Crowley, Jessica Stork, and Belinda Munoz Sloan. Our new women veterans include Shailene Godfrey, Leslie Thomas, and Gunn Harden. Representing the Air Force, Anna Baker, Lynn Early, and Jennifer Howlett. And finally, the U.S. Coast Guard represented today by Miss Amanda Sullins and A. Herring. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a warm round of applause for all of our women veterans and their families here today. NAS Kingsville right now ladies are serving all over the world in our United States Armies, including the far-off place in the Middle East, the Pacific, way up north and way south in all corners. These ladies represent a growing number of female veterans, and these on active. I can think of two women that stand out particularly. To mention the announcers that's here, both of our wives currently serving in deployed locations. Right now, let's bring up Captain Eric Spitzer, the commanding officer right here in Kingsville. Morning, sir. The mic is yours.
For parking. So you can carpool. I would suggest you do so. You can arrive early.
There we go.
Hey, good morning, everyone. How is everybody?
The Facebook website says 9 o'clock.
Distinct honor to welcome all of you to the 2018 Wings Over South Texas Air Show. And as always, Kingsville is going to bring the best of the best. The United States Marine Corps Colored Battle Detachments. And of course, we've got the Navy's finest pilots, the Blue Angels, later this afternoon. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Welcome.
Eric Spitzer, the commanding officer here at NAS Kingsville. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to start things off, I want to introduce you to Andre Batchett, who is here to tell you about our first performance, courtesy of the United States Marine Corps. Take it away.
Morning, noon, and night.
Appreciate it.
For you to make sure we can get you here as fast as we can and get you out the door as fast as you can. Please be patient. Please bring a little patience for traffic, because it's always a little bit of a challenge. Abe and I would love to have a little bit bigger road coming into the airport, but just for the purpose of the air show, that's a little bit challenging for us to pull off. So it's a 2-lane road. Make sure those on-site locations, they are provided complimentary, as is the transportation to and from them. They're provided complimentary the whole day Saturday and the whole day Sunday. So please do use those.
So yeah, to not be confusing, we do have parking on the field. We will use that until it gets filled up, and we also have off-site parking. Off-site parking worked a little bit better than the on-site parking or on-field parking last time, because it became a bottleneck after it got as hot as it did. We had emergency response that kind of shut down the island. So we do our best to get people on and off the island as efficiently as possible. Again, we'll have 2 lanes of traffic going out. There will only be 1 lane of traffic going in, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, 1 lane of traffic coming in. So usually everybody just kind of trickles in, but once the air show is over, everybody knows it's a mad rush to get off the field. So we will have 2 lanes of traffic off of the field, and hopefully we won't have very many emergency response calls like we did in the previous one due to the heat. But that was one of the reasons we had bottleneck getting people off of the airfield last night.
The Marines before represent 7 decades of rifle drill precision. At Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C. during the Sunset Parades of 1948. Marines performed the precision drill in hundreds of public appearances throughout the United States and abroad each year. Addition, they represent the Marine Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, the Commandant's Own, the United States Marine Drum and Bugle Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our presentation of the United States Marine Corps Battle Color Ceremony. On behalf of Marine Barracks, Washington, D.C., thank you for your attendance and Semper Fidelis. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your master of ceremonies, Mr. Matt Jolly.
Corporal Andre Bastian there. Now, listen, don't run off, Corporal. You were telling me how you got this job, because you were a member of the drill team, isn't that correct? As they were marching off? You were hanging out around Washington, D.C., and somebody said, can you read and talk at the same time? And you said...
I am the only grunt that they could find that can read and talk at the same time.
Well, my point being, if you want to join the Marine Corps, you may get to do something more than just carry a gun and run around. Isn't that right? It's a great career field.
Why not?
Why not, he says. There you go. Thanks for coming back here.
My pleasure, Matt.
Appreciate all you're doing. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for all of our Marines here this weekend. Now, listen, if you would like to find out more about a career in the armed forces, just talk to anybody in uniform out here this weekend. They'll be happy to tell you about it, all right? Since the dawn of time, man has dreamt of flight. Today, our dreams have become reality. We not only fly, we rocket through the heavens like the winged gods of mythology. Today, on this hallowed ground, you'll witness the world's most talented aviators pilot their flying machines through daring maneuvers once only seen in dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, what you once thought impossible will soon become reality. Today, our aviators will not only defy gravity and hover, but names like Fiala, Reeder, Thacker, YOUNKIN, and Ball, and Holland will forever live in your memory after their all-out aerobatic performance. Today, you'll be spellbound as vintage military aircraft take to the sky. You'll witness history, and you'll feel in your chest the rumble of their mighty engines. Today, you'll be treated to the shock and awe of the world's most advanced fifth-generation fighter. The F-35 Heritage Flight Team is here. And finally, you'll witness the finest military precision jet demonstration squadron the world has ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Navy Blue Angels are here to fly. Right now, though, turn your eyes to the sky. Open your hearts and minds and get ready, because the 2018 Wings over South Texas Air Show starts right now. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matt Jolly, a native of Portland, Texas, just down the road from here. A fellow South Texan, happy to be here with you. Air Show today brought to you in part by Thomas J. Henry and our friends over there at HEB. We've all been there, and I'll tell you what, if you were out here and affected by Hurricane Harvey, you know just how wonderful it is to have our friends at HEB. They have our backs. Nothing new if you live down here all your life, you know that, but they certainly stood out during that storm. Our thanks to Thomas J. Henry and to our friends at HEB. Right now, high overhead, we are awaiting the arrival of our first parachutist today. He's an Army Sergeant First Class. His name is Mr. Rick Walls. from Tampa, Florida. He is the assistant team leader of the United States Army Silver Wings. They're the command exhibition team from Fort Benning, Georgia, just up the road there. Army Sergeant First Class Rick Walls has around 2,500 jumps, and we are looking for Mr. Matt YOUNKIN this morning, who is somewhere up there right now. You'll see the Twin Beach. It's a World War II cargo airplane. And that particular airplane that he is flying today will be back later on to perform an all-out aerobatic routine. And I'm telling you, if you haven't seen Matt YOUNKIN fly that routine, stand by for something truly, truly incredible. You're going to be so happy to watch it as he comes down. It does some loops and rolls and stuff you've never seen before. All right, let's turn our eyes up. Matt YOUNKIN just about 30 or 40 seconds away from jump. Here he comes. He is flanked today on his left side by the world-renowned aerobatic star, Mr. Rob Holland. That guy is the best in the world when it comes to freestyle aerobatics. Team Redline, right off his right wing. That's John Thacker and Ken Reeder, one of the premier civilian formation aerobatic teams. Part of the all-star lineup for the 2018 Wings Over South Texas Air Show. Any second now, we're going to have jumpers away. Let's listen live as it happens.
Smoke on. There I go.
That's the cue. Rick Walls under canopy right now. That is Army Sergeant First Class Mr. Rick Walls from Tampa, Florida, the assistant team leader, 2,500 jumps. And ladies and gentlemen, in a few seconds, we're going to see the flag of our great nation unfurled. I have to tell you, right now I live overseas, and it is so awesome to see that flag line. Let's do something patriotic this morning. I think we all know the words to this song. Let's just stand up and cheer along. It's Rob Holland. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick Walls. As Rick Walls makes his way over here, he's going to tell you about this morning's jumpers. We have 3 more that will soon be coming out of the sky. All part of the Silver Wings jump team this morning. It's still to come. A little air show teaser by our friends at Redline, as well as Rob Holland. And then a guy that I have watched fly for many, many years. I'm talking about Mr. Paul Field, formerly the chief pilot at the King Ranch. He's going to be out here to show us some really neat barnstorming aerobatics. All part of the fun today, courtesy of our friends at U.S.A.F Electric Cooperative. Also, South Point Rentals, Kingsville Family Housing Ltd. Our thanks to Clayburgh Bank, to Dynacorp International, to Nissan Automotive, Navy Federal Credit Union, Corpus Christi Convention and Visitor Bureau, Coastal Bend College, Corpus Christi International Airport, our friends at Spa Glass Contractors, Infinity Operations and Installations, Kingsville Record, and the Bishop News, plus Domus Development, U.S.A.A, United Services Automobile Association, VTX One Companies, as well as Halo Flight, Navy Army Community Credit Union, Leslie Hakala, State Farm Insurance, Vela Dental, and many, many more who have made this entire air show possible. Now let's turn it over to Mr. Rick Walls with the Silver Wings Jump Team.
Where you at? You on? Okay.
The American paratrooper, born with fire in the skies over World War II, more than half a century ago, has since struck fear and terror into those foolish enough to oppose him. Relentless skill and courage, these brave soldiers have forged for themselves a place in America's history, past, present, and future. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sergeant First Class Rick Walls, and on behalf of the Commanding General of the Maneuver Center of Excellence, Major General Gary Bryan, and Commander of the 1st Battalion, 507th Parachute Infantry Regiment, Lieutenant Colonel Scott Brandon, I would like to welcome you to a live demonstration of free fall parachute demonstrations. If you look up, ladies and gentlemen, the jumpers are out and the smoke is on. The jumpers are performing what we call a stack out. This maneuver allows the jumpers to exit the aircraft and gain vertical and horizontal separation in order to deploy their parachute safely. The parachutes that these jumpers are using are Ram Air type canopy. This allows the jumpers to control their canopies, and it looks like a wing of aircraft if you view it from the side. In order to turn the canopy left, the jumper pulls down on the left control line. In order to turn the canopy right, the jumper will pull down on the right control line. To do a fast diving spiral, the jumper will pull down on the front riser, creating speeds of up to 25 miles an hour. If you can see them, ladies and gentlemen, they can hear you. Let's give them some noise. Thank you, Kingsville, Texas. If you notice, our first jumper, he is flying the U.S. Army flag. He is doing what we call a wind penetration check. He is checking his speed across the ground in order for him to judge the winds and find his complete stopping point. In order to stop these canopies, the jumper will simply pull down on both control lines simultaneously, allowing him to land safely. The jumper is on his downwind leg. He is turning on his base leg. He's coming in on final, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get some noise for Sergeant Nick Watkin from Grand Ledge, Michigan. Beautiful stand-up landing, Sergeant Watkin. Our second jumper from Ocala, Florida. He's got over 700 free fall jumps. Let's give it up for Sergeant First Class PJ Smith. Nice stand-up landing, PJ. Our third jumper, he hails from Yuma, Arizona, and he is flying the United States Marine Corps flag. He's got over 800 free fall jumps. He is currently our team parachute, keeping our parachutes nice and safe. If you can see him, he can hear you. Let's give it up for Sergeant Nicholas Orozco. Thank you, Sergeant Orozco. Our final jumper, Sage. Formed in 1965. Man, the team can trace its origins back to 1958. The mission of the Silver Wings is to promote the United States Army and Air Forces and Navy and Marine Corps. Since their first jump in August of 1965, the Silver Wings have inspired countless audiences around the globe.
Corporal Andre Bastion, listen,
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our jumpers one more round of applause. On behalf of the entire team, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for being such a warm and respectful audience. Hunters from the sky, airborne, all the way.
Big thank you there to our friends at Silver Wings. Listen, if you're driving a black Chevy 2500 HD and you left your dog in your truck, you better go find him right now. You got a black Chevy 2500 HD. We think the license plate's a Texas license plate. Looks like a GNS 1996. You better go get your dog, or he's going to be the next up for security forces working dogs. They've got their eye on him. Go get him out of your truck, please. Now, let's turn our attention back to the sky, because any second now we're going to see our friends from Red Line Airshows. To these guys, they can't afford an airplane, so they actually built their own. I'm talking about Ken Reeder and John Thalker from Red Line Airshows up there in the Ohio area, not too far outside of Cincinnati. We're going to listen up here to them as they check in and get ready for their air show here. This is Ken Reeder and John Thalker.
Ed.
Here they go. Believe it or not, you can actually carry about 75 You see that? They made it look so easy.
And Rob, the airspace is yours, and roll.
That was their call for Mr. Rob Holland to take over. We're watching his red line exit the box, and that means Rob Holland is coming up next. Rob Holland, the reigning world freestyle aerobatic champion. He's following up here with red line. You got to watch out for Rob. Rob will sneak up on you. Do you see him yet? He's out there. The reigning world freestyle champion. There's Rob Holland taking center stage right now in the MXS. Rob is the only airshow person in the history of the air shows to actually do some of these maneuvers that you'll watch him fly today. I'm talking about the world famous inside tumble and many more. Rob Holland here today from his home in New Hampshire flying the all-new MXS RH edition. That's the Rob Holland edition. This aircraft capable of over 16 times the normal gravity. That means 16 G's is what this thing can pull. Rob would effectively weigh 16 times his normal weight. Watch him now as he tumbles across the sky. This guy truly is the most inventive performer in the air show business today, flying maneuvers that simply no one else can pull off or dream up for that matter. Watch him now high overhead for his little teaser performance, as we like to call it. Just a few minutes to give you a taste of things to come later this afternoon. Now, folks, Rob Holland flies air shows all over the world. And I'm telling you, this guy is the absolute best there is when it comes to freestyle aerobatics. He is the reigning world freestyle champion, and I don't think they even give the award to anybody else. So when you see Rob Holland today, you will go home after seeing truly the world's finest. And we have a whole lineup of the world's finest here at Wings Over South Texas. But Rob's performance today is courtesy of his friends at Shaded Precision Eyewear, aviation's finest eyewear, Champion Aerospace, MGL Avionics, Sky Dynamics, In-Flight Cam, Whirlwind Propellers, and True Pro Aviation. Visit him online and post a picture of the Rob Holland hover that you see right now. It's right there at his Facebook page, facebook.com/Ultimate Airshows. Facebook.com/Ultimate Airshows. You can find him on Twitter and Instagram and share your pictures from today's performance right there at Facebook.com/Ultimate Airshows for the latest and greatest in all things Rob Holland. Now give him a wave, South Texas. That's Rob's way of saying howdy right back to you. Now, how many of you have a flight certificate out here, a pilot certificate? Let's see a show of hands. Who has a pilot certificate? Watch now as Rob Holland sets up for his final approach right here. He's going to start it off with a flat spin. Really now he's going to hold it in a hover. And pretty soon when he gets tired, he's just going to push it over. And then he's going to land. Now, believe it or not, Rob Holland, once upon a time, taught people how to fly, and I don't think he taught them how to land like, folks, the world famous Rob Holland. What a great guy. flying that MXS like it's nobody's business. Rob Holland, he actually owns that airplane, but he flies it like he stole it. He's also a great guy to hang out with, too. We went skeet shooting the other night. Had a great time. Just a lot of fun. Want to tell you that black Texas truck there, it's got a handicap plate, belongs to Michael Esch. Michael Esch, you've left your dog in your truck, and they're about to get in there and get your dog out for you. So Michael Esch, if you're driving a black handicap plate, GNS 1996, go get your dog out, please. Or security forces will get him out for you. Now for something completely different. Ladies and gentlemen, let's harken back to a time right after World War I when men were coming home after learning how to fly in the Great War. They were flying an aircraft like SE-5As, old biplanes. They learned on Jennies and all kind of stuff. And now they want to continue flying. So they walk up to a place maybe like Kelly Field in San Antonio, and they buy an old biplane like a Jenny. They barnstormed across this great land of ours. They'd land in a farmer's field. The young boy, maybe a farmhand or maybe the farmer's son or daughter, would walk out there and help them load fuel to haul rides out in the cotton pasture that had just been plowed. Well, today what Paul Fiala is about to show you are aerobatic maneuvers that were pioneered by the earliest of aviators like Charles Lindbergh, who held perhaps one of the proudest titles of their career, barnstormer, close to their heart. And today, Paul Fiala, who's been flying now for over 65 years, is going to show us some of those old maneuvers that he learned from his first employers at that little bicycle shop in Dayton, Ohio, where Orville and Wilbert taught him everything he knows. I'm just kidding about that part. Paul's getting up there in age, but he still loves to fly. And the great Jan Calmer used to tease everybody about Paul working for the Wright brothers. But watch him as he takes this Great Lakes biplane and does some smooth aerobatics. Everybody calls these gentlemen aerobatics, but believe me, they're anything but. To get an old airplane like the Great Lakes to perform this way takes a true master at the controls. In fact, Paul Fiala has been recognized as a master aviator by the FAA. He actually served in the Air Force from 1958 to 1962. But he continued on after his Air Force career, flying for a little ranch not far from here called the King Ranch, where he was the chief pilot for many, many years up until he retired. Today, though, Paul likes to share his passion of aerobatic flying with airshow audiences all across Texas. He's a member of the International Aerobatic Club and a graduate of the Gene Soucy School of Aerobatics. And about 35 years ago, when Paul Fiala flew his first AV show, a young kid was out in the audience, right up along the fence, and that kid's name was Matt Jolly. That happens to be my name, and it happens to be me that I'm talking about. I can remember watching this gentleman fly when I was just a kid hanging out behind the fence. And at one show, Paul took me aside and he said, "Why don't you come down to the King Ranch and go fly with me?" And that was the start of a long career in aviation, and I'm happy to still be in it today. So kids, turn your eyes skyward and watch the great Paul Fiala as he dances with this airplane. A 1930s vintage Great Lakes open cockpit biplane. The U.S. Army Corps actually, they actually used Great Lakes as trainers back in the 1930s. Has a gross weight of around 1,800 pounds, a cruising speed just fast enough to kill you at 100 miles an hour. A max speed, though, of only 160. But watch him now and listen to the wind over the wires that hold the wings together as Paul Fiala pulls it up into an old-fashioned barnstormer maneuver here. We're going to have to move out to see it. Just going to hold it there for a barnstormer's hammerhead. Now as he hauls back on the stick, the houses that were getting bigger will soon get smaller. Now can you just hear Grandma hollering over the top of that loop? Imagine the old biplane landing in the field. Grandma gets in and goes for a ride like this. That's one of the most fun maneuvers you do right there. An old hammerhead turn, just a stall turn. Kick the rudder and down you go. The little front seat just in front of Paul's head. You can barely see his little head, his flying cap on in the back seat back there. That gives you a really, really nice view of everything going on below you. Now here's the thing about this airplane. It doesn't like to do aerobatics naturally. It's an old biplane. It's a lot of drag and about 180 horses under the hood there. So he has to work really, really hard to do the maneuvers that you're seeing him do today. He actually has to use the energy that he can gain by climbing to dive back down to get the necessary airspeed to overcome all of that drag from all those flying wires and wings that he has. So we're going to watch Paul as he climbs up here just a little bit. Then he's going to come diving back in for the second half of his routine. I used to get really nervous watching Paul do this part because this is the hair-raising part, the part that makes you want to stand up. Watch him as he pulls this thing up right here at Airshow Center. Making his lunch want to come up. A strong, strong on-crowd wind today, making Paul Fiala work really hard to do all of these maneuvers. Now coming back around from the left here, you can see how slow he's going. Watch him as he pushes the nose over just a little. Here in a few seconds, we should see him level off. There we go. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are a few pilots that'll do this maneuver in an old biplane. We're going to watch for Paul Fiala to keep it slower. Gets it a little slower. There he goes. 1 and 2. A two-turn, daring low-level spin right at Show Center for you. Turnaround maneuver there for you. Pulls it up, then rolls it back low. I can remember this as a kid. This should be the double snap roll. You saw him do the spin. Now he's going to dive it and just haul back on the stick for not one but 2 snap rolls in the old Great Lakes. Now that's perhaps one of the most violent maneuvers you'll see a barnstormer fly. This next one has to be one of this. I'm talking about the old-fashioned barnstormer's barrel. Let's watch as Paul Fiala sets up for this iconic maneuver of aerobatics. This is one of the coolest maneuvers. It actually utilizes 2 functions of flight. The loop and the roll all combined into one. Watch him as he pulls up and rolls around an imaginary barrel in the sky. Now, the hallmark of a great aviator is one that can draw a straight line with his or her aircraft while doing something that is not straight and level. But believe it or not, that is the hardest part, to fly straight and level. Once you master that, you can try something like this. Watch Paul Fiala here as he keeps the airplane on the same plane. Not 1 or 2, a 4. Here comes 3 of an aileron roll. He just slices it into a little pie up there. That's got to be one of the hardest things to ever do in an old biplane like that, because every time you roll it, it just wants to slow down. But Paul Fiala knows how to keep it moving. It's all energy management. And it comes back to the days of the barnstormer. Those brave men and even women like the great Pancho Barnes who soared around this country, aircraft made of wood, fabric, and wire. And along with it, they carried the dreams of a nation that inspired the greats like Neil Armstrong, and today all of our wonderful aviators, even the Blue Angels. Folks, the barnstorming public, the men and women who did these maneuvers over cornfields and crop circles everywhere around this country, they truly inspired the aviators of our generation, the greatest that ever lived in the United States. So we owe them a heck of a debt. And Paul Fiala likes to carry on that tradition by keeping these maneuvers and this style of flying alive Let's watch now as he comes back around for a maneuver that I have never seen anybody pull off, as Paul Fiella likes to do. As he sets up here from the right, he's going to build up a whole heck of a lot of steam. And this doesn't look like, for the aviators in the crowd, they know how hard this is. The wing will actually stop flying, and this airplane will stay aloft by the strength of Paul's feet and the wind over the rudder. It is the knife edge pass. A big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Paul Fiella, the former chief pilot at the King Ranch. This gentleman lost everything when Harvey came to town up at Houston, where he lives. But he and his wife, they waited out safely as the boat came to their front door. And he so loves this air show that he wanted to get back in the air and come down here and fly for all of you down here in Kingsville. Many of you have known Paul for years. And right now, as he slips the Great Lakes down to earth, you can just imagine that guy coming in over the fence, over the freshly plowed field. We're going to watch the hardest maneuver that he has to execute today. That is the landing. Now watch him as he lines up over the runway. A hard crosswind today. Paul makes it look easy. Now he has 3,000 feet left ahead of him to land that airplane. He's going to slow it down and gently touch the runway like an old maid crawling into a soft feather bed. Ladies and gentlemen, the world-renowned Paul Fiella in the Great Lakes biplane. A big round of applause for him. I just love watching that guy. Still to come today, Paul Fiella as he makes his way down the show line, plus Randy Ball, Matt YOUNKIN and his Twin Beach, and the T-45s from right here at NAS Kingsville. Coming up in just a few more moments. All right, give them away down there on the show right. Wings of South Texas, this is your native son right here. Paul Fiella made a whole career down here in Kingsville. You've probably seen his older Great Lakes that he had. It was orange and black. And he's upgraded now to a little bit newer model, a different airplane. Here he is right down here on the show right. Alan, step on over here. As Paul Fiella makes his way down, we all have our own air show heroes, and Paul, of course, has been mine for years and years and years. There he is. Give him a wave as he comes by right there, folks. Show center. Alan, I know you've had a few in your day, too. It should be just on, buddy.
Yeah.
And you're here to tell us about the next act here that's coming up in just a few minutes. We want to tell everybody, though, about Dewey Larson back there. Kids, if you want to see what it looks like in a real airplane, Dewey Larson, right behind the announcer stand here, has two aircraft that you can actually get in and climb around. Isn't that right, Alan?
That's right. He has an F-101, which is a Top Gun replica, an amazing aircraft. If anybody's a fan of the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, go back there. You can have your own Top Gun moment. Dewey and his guys back there.
Right.
Big dream.
I think Captain Poser's back there, too, ready to take a picture with you.
I believe he is. I believe they have him set up back there.
He's back there. Looks a lot like Matt Lauer used to look, in my opinion.
I'm not going to touch that one. I'm going to go ahead and leave that one alone.
Yeah, you have to ask Dewey about that when you go back there. But a good-looking display back there. We have lots of static displays to see. I know the Devil Dog B-25 is back there. Our good friend Cowden Ward brought his P-51 Mustang down there.
Hey, goes Bill.
He flies all over this country, giving rides to veterans in the Mustang who are deserving of a ride in a P-51 Mustang. And in fact, Cowden came on our radio station and flew a 90-year-old World War II vet for us who had not touched a Mustang since he left World War II.
That's incredible.
It's a great story. You can listen to it on Edward Murrow Award in New York City.
That's right. I've listened to Warbird Radio a lot. You can
what a story.
Like that on Facebook. You can hear Matt Jolly and his crew at Warbird Radio.
Yeah, we're currently broadcasting live from the Middle East, believe it or not. So when you tune into the station, it's all live from the Middle East, telling the stories of the current fight right now, the current fight that our airmen are in. And you yourself were once an airman, and just like myself, you're married to an Air Force person.
I am. My wife is the Command Executive Officer of the 137th Special Operations Wing in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma.
Well, speaking of our active duty folks, the folks in the Coast Guard often get overlooked. But down here in Corpus Christi, Texas, and Kingsville, Texas, and all along the coastal bend, we see these Dolphin helicopters every single day of the week. And I don't know about you, but they're there when you need them. Growing up fishing down here, we actually had a boat come apart and sink one day, and my Uncle Charlie was rescued by one of the guys. You're going to tell us a little bit about this helicopter and the rescue mission about development.
You see one of these, you want to see it simulated. But if you do find yourself in a bad situation, the Coast Guard has 102 of these bad boys that will be there like, you know, an angel with wings. It's going to come out and get you out of a bad situation.
Well, you're absolutely right. And we have some friends that fly these things. Tim Borelli, another rescue pilot that I know up in the D.C. area, has talked to me about just how awesome this particular helo is to fly. And I know, Alan, you have some stats on helicopter.
I do. Like I said, the Coast Guard's operating 102 of them right now. And it's actually just 2 months younger than me. Their first maiden flight was 1980, and I was born in May of 1980. They came out in July.
A good year.
That's right. It's called the Dolphin aircraft. It's got several different variants, and the missions these things run, they run counterterrorism, not just rescue missions, although that's, you know, what they're probably best known for. And they're operating coast to coast from the Gulf of Mexico, from Pacific and Atlantic. They're all over the United States. These are very skilled aviators. They love what they do. Twin engine.
We can see the rescue swimmer now in the door, about to emerge on a little hoist that's up there in the helo, isn't it?
So you see their rescue diver or jumper sitting in the door right there.
Right. There he is.
Dangling.
Or maybe she. We don't really know at this point. We're celebrating women veterans, Alan. We don't want to leave the girls out. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I wish we should. We need to get a name of the rescue swimmer. We'll have to use the radio that we have to do that. We'll have to find out. There we go, hovering over show center.
These guys have a semi-glass cockpit. For those of you who don't know, a glass cockpit is a very much updated version of maybe your old. If you've seen some of the older movies, you see like World War II planes. They have the dials and rotors inside of them. Well, this is a semi-glass cockpit, so they have a heads-up display, and they've all been upgraded in fact, just the last 2 years.
That's a walk and chew up at the same time. I don't know.
Let's find out.
Air Boss, Cheryl narrator down here. Can you find out the names of the crews? We have the mic hot if they want to talk.
Good morning, please.
There we go. We're going to listen here and see. Hopefully they're up hot here. We'll see if we can hear them.
Very, very skilled aviators.
Air Boss, we're live on the frequency. We're trying to figure out the names. Do we know the names of the crew?
Negative, not this time.
We'll have to find out, Alan. They just don't know them yet. Watch them as they come down here. Let's see. They're going to be on a UHF frequency. All right, we have our diver down. Now let's find out what happens next. See it moving around. Isn't it incredible just how stable that helicopter can become right there?
It is. Very low level, very windy day. They hold it real steady in the wind.
It hasn't moved 5 feet since he's been there now.
No, they're capable of an altitude of 15,000 feet and a max speed of 165 knots.
That's actually pretty fast for a helicopter, isn't it?
It is. That's because if people are in trouble out there, they want to get to them in a hurry.
Up in Washington, D.C., where they operate these things out of Reagan National Airport there on a patrol there, we're told it's a deployment up there. They come so close by our little apartment up there when we're staying in D.C., you can read the sign. They have a green light-up sign in the window, and it looks like a bus sign. It looks like it might as well say Foggy Bottom Station or something next. You see it every time when they go by. So we all like to sit out on the patio and wave at them when they come by. And I mean, they're just a few hundred feet in front of you.
Do they ever wave back?
They do wave back, and in fact, we've met some guys, and they really wave back then. You know, it's just fun to watch them. But what an impressive display here as they lower down the rescue basket.
There you go. So they've already simulated their diver away. So now they're down on their lowering the rescue basket. And
this
who are they
guy's just
rescuing
happy
today?
he's not
Who's down
wet
there?
today. He's really happy he's not wet in this South Texas wind because
Really.
it'd be a little chilly down there. Now watch him as he gets back in.